The hard part is being able to keep falling in love with that same person again and again and growing that relationship. Hello and welcome to Spiritually Hungry.
Very excited to be speaking about relationships with you today.
Yes, the holiday of love is coming up soon in the Gregorian calendar. And also, there's never a bad time to speak about relationships because so many people have a hard time navigating it.
But unfortunately, for a lot of conversations you have, it seems like it's a bad time.
Yeah, I get to see a lot of that.
It's very funny. We're like you're having dinner with people and you're like, please, let's not bring up their relationship.
No, mine's more in my head, like, please don't start arguing during dinner.
Yeah, well, that's what I meant.
Yes. So today we're going to talk about how to look for a life partner and kind of what to focus on, among other things. Most conversations about love focus on attraction, chemistry, even soulmates. Everybody wants to find their soulmate, not fully realizing what it takes to find a soulmate relationship. But then also, even if you have the merit to find it through hard work, then it takes extra work later. It's something that is consistent and constant. It's a forever choosing each other again and again, which means you have to show up in ways that diminish the ego, which makes a soulmate relationship, first of all, very hard to find, and then also very hard to appreciate and cultivate. Yeah,
I was thinking probably the biggest mistake or lack of attention that people have when it relates to relationships and soulmates and finding your soulmate or keeping your soulmate is who you need to be. It's crazy. It's kind of crazy.
And
both in trying to find your soulmate and in maintaining the soulmate relationship.
It's really about, that's why in my book, it says, it has a subtitle and it says, and being the one. And every time I did an interview, they would botch it and say, and being one. I said, no, I didn't say being one. It actually reads being the one, but it's the word that even subconsciously people just remove because wait, I need to be something to be able to keep that. And there's so many people I do work with that I really do see as soulmates. They fully mirror each other, what needs to work and to change. And they keep choosing themselves. Of course, again, not intentionally.
But would you agree with the statement that for most people, they have neither not found the one nor able to keep the one?
Yes.
Because they haven't actively changed what those certain parts of themselves that need to change to either find the one or be with the one.
Right. And the change really starts and ends with diminishing the ego. The ego is the thing that really, I mean, is the biggest hindrance to...
Do you mind diving into that? Because I think it's so important. And, sometimes I have conversations with people because I think even from a purely spiritual perspective, separate from how we develop relationships, that some people have an issue with, what do you mean diminishing me? The ego is who I am. I had a conversation with somebody recently. That's where my whole self-confidence comes from. Don't you think I need to be self-confident to be successful in life? And that's a whole other conversation, but...
That is an aspect of ego, but that is not the part of ego that needs to be diminished.
Right. So when you say ego, correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you're referring to is the part that needs to be right even when it's wrong.
Right. The part that is only focused on being heard rather than hearing the other person. The part of self that needs to put their needs before they can meet the other person's needs, because ego says, wait a second, why are you going to think of this other person or be generous or thoughtful or caring when they aren't to you? Ego is what makes us play games to the point where we eventually ruin the relationship.
And initially, it probably doesn't feel like a game, right? It probably feels like fairness. What do you mean? I mean,
it feels like survival, to be honest with you, because that's what the ego does. It makes us feel like we will suffer some miserable death if we do not win the argument. If we are not heard, we won't be appreciated. It's going to be the end of us. It feels very urgent and immediate and serious, which is why it gets our attention. But in reality, it takes us down this road we don't even realize we're on until it has such a hold over you that you can't decipher between what's true and what's not.
I think this is a really, really important point.
But it's also one of the most painful things when I work with couples that I witness. And I have couples I've worked with for years and years, and they do make progress. And this is what's interesting too. because they are soulmates and they are a mirror, they're actually able to start to work on themselves because they've recognized that what the person's saying about them is true to some extent, right? Because they are, especially if you have somebody who's spiritual. And a lot of the couples I work with, they both are actively pursuing spirituality. But interestingly enough, and I've only kind of given this some more thought recently, they're able to apply that for self-growth, but they still show up as the worst version of themselves in the relationship. So they're able to say, okay, you're telling me that I need to be more sensitive. So they start to be a more sensitive person. They start to notice where they can be more sensitive, but not with their partner.
Interesting.
They start to hear all these things, but still it's this, I can do all these things, but not with you because my expectations of what you should give me are greater than my desire to actually change this in this area.
Right. Right. And I think that's where, again, it's not, they don't see it. We don't see it at the moment as a game. I can be unconditional with somebody outside of my relationship because I have no expectations of them. But once I have expectations of my husband, my wife, my partner, then those expectations cloud my ability to show up.
And there's a very, very specific reason why this happens. We care so much. We love this person so much. And therefore, our expectations of what they should give us and how they should show up for us is huge. And then when that doesn't happen, we get hurt. And
Explain
then
that. Unpack that.
Well, let me just finish the thought. And then when we're hurt, then we shut down and then we choose ego. So I see many people, they'll give leeway to a coworker or to their best friend or even to their siblings or their parents. Like, oh, they could have done better. They didn't, we talked about it. I'll forgive them. I'm still going to show up in that relationship. But, my expectation is, my siblings will disappoint me. My parent, whatever. We work through that in a different way, even our children. When it comes to the partnership is we bear the weight together. We do this together. My needs need to be met. Your needs need to be met. But it's this complicated, the expectation is really not balanced unless you're looking at it through a lens that is a little bit removed from self so you can remove your emotions. Again, the stakes are so high. We love so much. And that tends to jade our ability to be our best versions when we need to be.
Interesting. This is a really important point. And I think that for our listeners, I think it's an important moment to take and stop and point. Like I can point to something last week where I felt to this. And I think part of
good. I'm happy that's what you're pointing at.
Oh, and you too. And I think part of the, I don't know if anybody can see the way Monica just looked at me, but I think part of the issue is that people don't realize, and thankfully we're blessed to have been married 28 years and we're in love, but that the work never stops.
But the interesting thing, and let's talk about it. We're not going to go into the details.
Yeah.
But you didn't hear me at first, and this was kind of something with this that we were going back and forth with a little bit. It's been a theme for a few weeks, here and there, right? But the reason that it was resolved in that day, and it's something we're both aware of what we both need to work on, is that in that moment,
you're going to say I.
No, in that moment was able to. I actually wanted to be very thoughtful, and also you have to know your style and you have to know each other. Like if we are communicating and we're not getting very far and we're still stuck on the same thing, because that doesn't usually happen to us, I'll go to writing because I know when I write.
You made me cry.
Because I do write. When I write, I always stop and think, okay, what am I trying to say? And how's the best way to say this so that it will land where I want it to land? And so when we were having that argument, that is exactly what I did. I wrote a text and I asked myself that exact same question. And I really spoke from the heart. And by the way, I knew, it was true for me that first I wanted to acknowledge how I was wrong and what I could do better. Right. And then I listed all the other things that you could do, but it was really coming from that place. And I think that unfortunately, a lot of relationships don't feel safe to do that. You can't be vulnerable. It's years of resentment and anger that's built up. However, that can all be undone with work. And then you can get to this place where, and that's what it is to be seen and heard. But you have to take the time to actually pull yourself back again, like I did, get a different lens and say, okay, what is the goal here, right?
You just touched upon two, which I think are very important points. I just want to underscore them for our listeners. One is to take that step back and say, not what is my argument or what is my grievance, but what is the way that my partner will hear me. And often it will also include things that I need to change.
You have to take ownership.
And
nobody wants to be like, this is what you, no matter how you say it. And there's two people. So of course, if I didn't stop and recognize what my part was, how would I expect you to do the same? It's just not, it's not.
But I'm sure that the percentage of times in relationships as a whole, where when there's an argument, with this disagreement, with this a grievance, that one of the partners takes that time to step back and say, okay, not what's my strongest argument or what am I going to say to, but rather how do they want to hear it?
And then the second part is, what is the goal? For me in that moment, the goal wasn't to be right and show you how you were wrong. The goal was, how can we grow from this? And how can we support each other while also taking responsibility for how we're not right and what can be done differently next time? So because my goal was that, I was really like, it wasn't even hard for me in that moment to say what I could do better. Whereas other times it would be, right? But you can feel the difference once you start playing around with it.
Well, you did a great job, let me just say to our listeners. And I do want to again just repeat something I said before, which I think is so important, is that the work, especially the work of nudging the ego out of the conversation, is never ending. Never ending. Never ending.
So we have a lot of other practical things, and they're short little bites, but I think they're really important things that I want to touch upon, because again, the love part is the easy part. And I think for our children who are now at the age of finding their partner, some of our children, not all of them, and so many people are looking for love, and they think that's the hardest part because the world is so big. There's so many people in the world. There's apps, there's this, there's so many options, but truly it's easy to fall in love. Like, it might not be the one, but love is not the issue.
Olivia Dean song.
Yeah, it's so I'm not going to sing that. Very good song. But that's not the hard part, right? The hard part is being able to keep falling in love with that same person again and again, and growing that relationship. Because it's really never about love.
Well, sometimes it is, right? Sometimes it is.
I know so many people who love each other and they just can't be together.
But you also know people who just don't love each other.
Who didn't love each other enough in the first place.
Right. What do you think the percentage is from the people you've counseled?
No, I think they loved them, but they didn't know themselves enough to know, or love themselves enough to know that maybe wasn't enough, or that it was love, but in one specific area. And they didn't ask these questions that we're going to get to. There's two big questions that I want our listeners to ask themselves, and even people who are in a relationship or not in a relationship. The first question is, imagine if someone said to you, the way you said that or the way you managed that situation, it reminds me so much of your partner. Do you take that as a compliment, or did it feel like an insult? Right? So where are you in your relationship with a person? Because that's the other thing. We can work on a relationship and we can even try to diminish the ego. But if you have feelings of resentment or you're not liking your partner, there's some other things that need to be done before the bigger things can be addressed. The other question is, imagine the worst day of your life. Is this the person you want to be by your side? Can you trust and depend on them? And I think that I often say that to people when they're dating and they want to know if that's the one. I always say, ask yourself this question, because if not, what are you building your foundation on? If you never felt safe with them, if you never felt like they, on the worst day, right, you'd want to go to them. Again, there's some things that maybe you're not looking at when you're looking at the person. So the first step, I think a lot of people do, and I think it's a mistake, is that they bring their baggage into the relationship. Their past hurts, their wounds, their trauma, their issues with their mother, their issues with their father, and then they assign that to their partner now. And this is where we get into the expectation part. It's unrealistic. It's not fair. And it's just, it really tarnishes from the very beginning the exchanges between the two people.
But the question is, but that's who the person is right now, right? He or she has this baggage.
So, right. So the question is, so when you're looking for a life partner, right? The first thing is be as transparent as you can about who you are. I think often people hide their worst parts. We know John Gottman has written about this. People overemphasize the positive and
in themselves
and de-emphasize the negative. And also we do that for our partner in the euphoric stage, those first 6 months. And we're like, oh, they're great, they're this. And we're like, no, see all of it, right? I'm bringing this up, because I think that couples really need to do this at the very beginning when they start dating. So if you know that the person you're dating has a really, really complicated relationship with their parents and it's a toxic one that they're still allowing to be toxic, okay, nobody's perfect, but talk about that and understand how that's going to impact your relationship and have those conversations and even help each other grow and change, but don't pretend that it's not there because it becomes assigned later.
Meaning?
Well, then it's like, oh, I had this issue with my mother. You're reminding me of my mother. Don't control me. Or, oh, my father abandoned me with little. I have trust issues. It really, of course, it complicates this most important relationship in your life.
Can you give an example from people you've helped?
One person was raised in a house where her parents got divorced very young and she was alone all the time. She didn't have a lot of love, nurturing, hugs, cuddles. So when then she got into the marriage, she is that independent person where the person she married needs the love, needs the validation, needs the feedback, needs the nurturing. And she's not able to give it naturally because she never had a model for it. And more than that, she learned how to survive and live without it. Now, can she change and can she learn to do those things? And if it's important to him, yes. But by the time she figured out that that was an issue, it's 7 years into the marriage. Mm-hmm. And then you have now it's not about your child anymore. It's about the last 7 years of your marriage. And now neither of you are happy. Mm-hmm. So those are the ways that shows up.
And if they would have spoken about it,
then they could start working on it year one, day one. So I think that's really, and that's about being emotionally intelligent, that you know every aspect of their life before you're even in the story, so that when you fight or when things come up, you can be more sensitive and aware and say, okay, I'm not going to say it like that, even though I can see they're being selfish. I'm not going to say that because I know that that's a trigger for them because of.
Right. But the problem also is that sometimes people themselves don't even know the type of baggage they're carrying.
Correct. Which is why we're talking about it today. Right. And which is why a spiritual pursuit of some sort is so important. So you have self-awareness and you delve into the most important relationship, which is the one you have with yourself. Right. So many people skip that step before they get married. Luckily, I started that. And that's why I'm always so grateful that I had anorexia, because if I hadn't gotten sick at 17, and then we met when I was 23. We fell in love at 23. I wouldn't have, I don't know who you would have been a hot mess of a marriage. I don't know who would have shown up in that relationship. First of all, we wouldn't have recognized each other. But even if we had, I had a lot of stuff to work through. And you did too. Okay. So that's step one. The second is, does your best version of yourself show up? Because relationships are hard enough as it is, we shouldn't make them harder. So if every time you're with your partner, you're like miserable or you're angry or you put on a smile for everybody else and you're like great to everybody else at your job and everybody gets the best of you except your partner, this is another area, again, where a decision has to be made. Who do you want to be in the relationship? How do you want to show up?
How often does that happen, you think?
Again, expectations are tricky. I think it happens often. That even when people are in love, they're just so tired of life and showing up everybody else that when it comes to their partner. When they're stressed, because that person should understand why they're acting like that and they should give them a free card. Every couple has that thing. I know you're in a bad mood, but don't take it out on me. I know you had a hard day, but don't take it out on me, right? And if a person has many, many hard days or many, many bad days or a very stressful job, then who do they bring to the relationship if that's how
you're suggesting that they force themselves to...
There's so many ways to navigate that. Yeah. There's so many ways. Like if a person's in a very stressful job, I've given this advice to couples, and let's say the one person doesn't work and they're at home, but they're with the kids all day, let's say, and that's stressful in a different way. So when the person who is out all day, but they were working really hard, but they were out of the house all day, the unspoken expectation now is, well, you've been out all day. I've been with the kids. Now it's your turn. But you haven't actually looked at what their day was like. Maybe they had a horrible day. Maybe they had to fire somebody. Maybe they lost a lot of money, whatever it is. The conversation would be, let's check in with each other a half hour before you get home so we can speak about what our needs are. If the person who's out all day needs an hour to change, to relax, to be them, whatever, fine. But then they take over with the kids, and everything is figure outable. But again, that's the emotional intelligence piece. You have to have these conversations. Okay, another one is maintenance equals appreciation. Meaning, one of the most overlooked qualities in a partner is how good they are at maintenance. But what this really tells you is how much appreciation they have for the blessings in their life. So do they maintain the relationships with family and friends? You're not going to keep every friend you ever had, and some family members are toxic, but do they try to work on the ones that do matter? How is the relationship with their mother, their father, their siblings? Again, not everything's going to be equal. Do they take care of themselves? Do they take care of their environment? Do they follow through on their commitments? And this is important because how they care for themselves is also the capacity they have to care for you to some extent.
So this is as you're starting out in the relationship, or this is during the relationship?
I think all of these are something to open your eyes to at the very beginning. These are things that we don't pay attention to. We're like, oh, it's just too busy, or, oh, but these are the things that people fight about once they're living together and once they're married. And also the expectation, again, you want them to show up for you in a certain way, and you're very specific about what it is you need, but did you stop to pay attention to how they care for themselves? Do they take care of their teeth? Do they, like, all the things, right?
And if not?
Again, everything's figure outable. So have these conversations. Say, I noticed that, how can I better support you? Is it that you don't have the time? Do you need help with time management? Do you not find the importance in it? Do you not find the value in it? And have these open conversations. This is a super important one, growth mindset, because that comes down to change, what you believe about change, the importance you think it is, and the amount of equity you put into it.
Sorry, would you agree with me if I said that growth and change mindset, right? Because some people are very excited about growth.
Well, I put them one in the same, but yes.
Yeah. Because growth, in our view, right, in the Kabbalistic view, comes together with change. You can't grow unless you're changing. So you have to be excited about growth with the understanding that will necessitate change.
Yes. And here's the thing
because I know, for instance, a couple that I'm thinking of that if you ask, in this case specifically the wife, do you want to grow? She said, yeah, of course. Who doesn't want to grow, right? And but do you want to change in order to grow? I think is.
Try to think about who you're talking about.
Then, in order for a relationship to thrive, both the partners have to have a growth plus change mindset.
Correct. And then they need to involve their partner in their own process of growth and change.
Meaning?
Because what I see a lot that has happened is that one will get super excited about growth and change, and the other one is watching it, but the partner that's changing isn't sharing it with their significant other. And the next thing you know, they are now this whole other reality that the other partner's now blindsided. They didn't know that this was happening, and they don't have anywhere to kind of fit in. And then at that point, it's kind of too late because they've created this whole life for themselves without their partner. The thing about growth and change is that we are always changing. We're either moving forward or backwards. So I'm saying be intentional about your growth, be clear about it, and share it with your partner and support each other in that. And again, this is something that should be a conversation early in the marriage. What do you believe? What are your values? What are your morals? What's important to you? Do you believe that growth and change is important? Because if not, it's going to be an issue later because everybody is constantly changing. So it needs to be a change that's very focused and clear, and one that you communicate with each other. Do they look at, these are some questions. Do they look for ways to grow and improve? Are they curious? Are they coasting but without ambition? Are they consistently seeking an altered state like marijuana, alcohol, drugs, adrenaline? What is their work ethic? I think that these are the kinds of things to talk about early in a relationship. So you know really who they are and you know about them. Some red flags to look for. And there always are red flags. There's also green flags.
These are for people who aren't married or looking for, what do you have?
This is before. This is looking for, or in a serious relationship. How do they treat other people, especially those who can't benefit them? How do they talk about their life? Are all of their exes crazy? Are they always the victim? Because this is how they're going to show up to some extent. And again, it's in extremes, right? Are all of them? I'm not saying, of course, you might have one ex that's crazy or two, but if they all are, here are a few more red flags. They're unkind to anyone. They're not generous with their time, their consideration. They have anger issues. If something minor goes wrong, like even getting stuck in traffic, they blame you. They invalidate your feelings as if they're trying to convince you that what you experienced didn't happen or what you felt about it was wrong. They have unilateral decision making. They're secretive. And it doesn't mean, again, that they're a bad person. It means that there's stuff to work on. and to discuss and work through together. And this will either happen when you're dating or it's going to happen after. But I always say to people, because people have a lot of fear, like they've identified something they really like, or like they love this person 90% of it. So the 10% that are serious red flags, they ignore. But guess what happens as soon as you're married? The red flags are the things that are now glaring, and you're seeing 90% of the time. And the things that you loved, even if it was 90% of them, you're not actually experiencing. So don't be afraid to see what you see. And the last thing is aligned values. Some of the things that come up that really break couples up are religion. Do they have a shared spirituality? It doesn't have to be identical, but it has to be compatible. Politics, especially in this day and age. Again, you don't have to have the same views, but I think it depends on how strongly you believe them. That could affect a relationship for sure. Kids is a big one. How many? Do they even want children? When do they want them? How do you want to raise the children? Do you want to raise them in a spiritual home? And I think that some people think, oh, I heard this one a lot. Like, yeah, I knew my partner didn't want children. They did tell me that, but I thought it would change. And then they get divorced 5 years later because the other one really wants children. And again, it has nothing to do with love, but it's about following what you really want. And then the last part of that is money, because money's energy. And that is something that really affects many couples. Do we have a joint account or a separate one? Is there a prenup or no prenup? Is one a budgeter or the other one a saver? One works to live, the other one lives to work. If one person makes more money, do they expect to make the financial decisions? Does being the higher wage earner translate into control? Like, there's so many things that come up in a relationship. So my point is, and by the way, we haven't even covered half of it. Talk about these things.
And talk early.
Yeah. And never stop talking.
Nice. So yeah, what I would say, and I was thinking as we were preparing for the podcast, is that my hope is that there's at least one or two.
How lucky you are.
That, of course. But also to our listeners, I really hope that there's one or two of the ideas that we shared today that makes them stop and find a way that they want to work on their relationship.
Pick one area to start.
Because like Monica said, unless you're doing that work consistently, proactively, much more difficult for the relationship to actually be growing and thriving. So it's interesting, I choose the letters that our listeners send in before we choose the topic, but this one I think dovetails beautifully with this topic of relationships. It's from one of our listeners, Helena. Hi, dear Monica and Michael. I hope you are having the most wonderful day. I think we are, actually. Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you for all the wisdom you share. Your teachings have genuinely enriched my life. I absolutely love hearing the two of you together. What a blessing to have a relationship rooted in faith and purpose. As I am writing this, I feel like I am already answering my own question. I will still send it to you. Perhaps it can help other people find clarity as well. I've been with my partner for 7 months, and from the beginning, it felt meant to be. The first time I looked into his eyes, I felt something divine, like I was meeting divinity inside myself. I have never experienced anything like it. I love him deeply, and yet it feels like we have reached a crossroads. Kabbalah has become the foundation of my life. I pray a lot, and I experience life as guidance from the Creator. My partner is agnostic. He respects that my faith gives me strength, but he doesn't see life through the same lens, and we don't talk about God very often. Recently, we went through something really profound together, an experience that, for me, felt like a blessing and an invitation to grow in a way I couldn't have otherwise. For him, it seemed to land differently. I noticed how much anger, and this isn't fair, he carries, and it made me wonder what it means for our future. My questions to you: can a theist and an agnostic build a fulfilled life together? Is it healthy or even possible for my faith to be deeply personal without needing it to be shared in my romantic relationships? And how do you make sense of meeting someone who feels like a soulmate, yet still realizing you might not be able to walk the same path? It feels as if we are meant to spend our life together. I don't want to ruin something that was meant to be by deciding we can't go forward together because of this. Thank you so much for taking the time to read this. I would absolutely love if you could send me a reply if this is coming on the podcast. I am a bit impatient and excited to hear you talking about this topic. Wishing you all the blessings on your path. Warmly, Helena. So first, Monica, what do you think? First of all, I wonder what Helena, it seems like, by the way, you can email us, Helena, back, that you already came to a conclusion, which we are very interested and excited to hear from you. But Monica, what would your
So he's
thoughts
atheist,
be?
not agnostic.
No, he's agnostic.
Agnostic. Okay, so I wouldn't jump to anything, any one decision or conclusion. I would get curious about why he's agnostic. And I mean, we've had these conversations with people. I would ask lots of questions, like, did he ever believe? Did he have experiences when he was a child where he felt something different? Does he feel something bigger than himself when he's hiking? Like, try to find a point. His spirituality might look different, but see if there's an opening to understand him more and how he might connect. The second part is, and I would need her to answer that, if this is really something that she wants to pursue a spiritual life and grow and get more and more deeply involved in that pursuit, she's not going to have to make a decision, because a decision will probably be made. It just won't feel as fulfilling anymore. So either way, I would say don't decide anything, but I wouldn't give up what I believe if it's that important to you. But I would also try it, like we said earlier, bring my partner in my journey. It might look different though. Don't bring him into the same way, not the same language, not the same vocabulary, but maybe something happened when he was a child that made him agnostic. Maybe he was raised in a home like that. Maybe he really is deeply spiritual, but he doesn't know it yet. And also maybe spirituality just looks really different for him, and that's okay. But see where you can meet and experience that together. That's where I'd start.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think it's really important. I think it's a theme that you often speak of, that curiosity, right? That nothing's black or white, and you shouldn't take them as such, but rather come with a curious mind. And I think you're exactly right. That we've spoken about this in previous podcasts, that for me, I wouldn't say more important than believing in a higher power. I think it's almost impossible not to believe that there are things greater than us. I mean, everybody believes that, right? I mean, at the very least, we all know that nature is greater than we are. And the Kabbalists would point out that nature is the numerical value of the word God, meaning, and again, in the Kabbalistic view is very different than a religious view of God as this person, it's this energy. That being said, I think what I would also start with is the conversation about wonder. Meaning, are there things that he sees in this world that just make him, see it as beautiful? Having awe for nature, right? That's a very close, at least in the Kabbalistic view, a very close step to connecting to that greater power that exists in our world. And I as I mentioned in previous podcasts, I think, again, certainly where physics is today, like sometimes when I need to be inspired spiritually, I'll watch some modern day physicists speak about the way the world works, which is so crazy and beyond logic. So definitely come with curiosity. And it's certainly possible for two people to have different views of their spirituality, as we would call it, or even their view of the world, and still be able to maintain a soulmate relationship. But I think really underscoring everything, Monica, you shared this podcast, speak, converse, get curious, and then you'll know.
Create experiences where meet him where he's at. If she does in fact find that nature is what lights him up, then spend time in nature together, go for hikes, meet him, find any opening and go through that.
Yeah.
Pierce your way through. And then from there you can build perhaps, but that's truly where I'd start. It's interesting, as I was at the dentist yesterday, they have a screen on the ceiling and it's of course pictures of nature until you can choose like Netflix or whatever. But I'm lying there and I'm like, oh God, I hate going to the dentist. And I was supposed to get a filling. Luckily that got delayed. Thank God. But I'm looking at the nature. I'm like, okay, this is a tooth and I'm sitting in a chair and I am small. And this is like, it's beautiful. It's like the best nature pictures, right? All over the world, like the places. And I felt so small in such a great way that it minimized my fear of what I was about to experience, right? That is so just find any touch point, really.
Right. So Helena, please keep us updated and please email us again with, as we said before, both what your conclusion was and how it's going. And this is a great time to remind our listeners to keep sending your questions, comments, stories to Monica and Michael at spirituallyhungry.life. Monica and Michael at spirituallyhungry.life. We read your emails. They inspire us. They inspire our listeners. We get to converse on them. So please make sure to send your questions, comments, stories to Monica and Michael at spirituallyhungry.life. As always, share this podcast with everybody you know. give 5-star reviews on Apple Podcast. And we hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it.
And I would just add that I especially love relationship episodes. So if you have any specific questions that you want us to ask, if you want to ask them live, that's also a possibility. So send your questions in and we'll take it from there. Stay spiritually hungry.